Hi, Pat the Podcast Editor here. New clients and new leads seem to be the main focus for marketing agencies, with many neglecting the bread and butter returning clients that steadily pay their overheads every month. Well, in today's episode, Dan and Lloyd share some practical tips on retaining and nurturing your relationships with repeating clients.
I'd schedule some time to note down any evidence or data you have that demonstrates you deliver on your promises. That can be the starting point to then incorporating that into your marketing so that you're not like every other business in your industry that says, we do good stuff, because everyone says that, or our products are the best in the world. It's like, show us the evidence. And if you have that evidence, that's a good little action that you can take.
And Lloyd gives some examples of the different types of clients you'll face in the big wide world of business.
One of them is a fame client. The second type is a schmooze client. Third is the perfectionist client. And the fourth one is what they call a bully client. Bit of a weird one.
Now, before we dive in, we'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor, Adobe Express. Adobe Express allows you to quickly and easily create standout social graphics, logos, flyers, and more on web and mobile. Click the link in the description to try Adobe Express today. Right, let's get on with the show. Have your notepads at the ready? This is episode 114 of the Business Anchors podcast.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
We all want long-term clients, but how do we attract and retain them, Dan?
That was a brilliantly read question, Lloyd. I'm impressed with that.
Thank you. I've been reading for roughly 25 years.
Good.
Oh, no, longer than that.
We're going to be answering that question. You don't even know your own age.
I briefly forgot my age and thought I first read when I was 8 years old. I was younger than that, I think.
So we're going to be answering that question in this episode, Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, the reason we're actually doing an episode on this is because we both realised we always talk a lot about when new customers join Knowlton, as in when we bring on new customers, because it helps build credibility and social proof. But we never talk about any customers who are sorry, I can't remember. Renewing. Sorry,
Retained?
that's it.
Okay.
Renewing their
weird.
contracts. And this week, a customers renewed their contract for the 5th year in a row, and we were like, "That's
It's impressive, isn't it? And complete missed opportunity where, like you said, it's not just us that don't talk about this kind of thing. Like, we've got a customer that's been incredibly loyal and wanted to work with us for 5 years running. Like, that must mean we're doing a great job, but we don't talk about that stuff until now, obviously. And I think a lot of businesses are in the same position where if they get an exciting new client, if it's like a B2B business, or if it's like, oh, we've got our 1,000th customer, if you're like a new business selling products or whatever, but no one talks about like, oh, our customers come back every single month or every year, or they because they love our stuff so much.
And from a marketing perspective, I think that's more impressive.
Yeah.
Than saying, oh, we've got new clients that trust us, want to work with us. It's like,
in theory, getting new clients, you could somehow trick them. You could be like, honestly, our product's really good, and then they buy it, and then they get it and it's like, well, it's rubbish. If you're really good at sales or marketing, or or you're just a horrible person deceiving the world, you can do that. But you can't do that with getting customers to come back, because then they've experienced your service or your product. They're not going to come back if it's not good. So to prove that it's so good, people come back. That's a much bigger thing.
And this happening this week was like a bit of an aha moment of like, oh shit, we actually do have quite a few returning customers. And I thought that it would be good for the anchors to hear how we attract and retain ongoing customers.
That customer that came back for the 5th year this week is a weird one as well, because they didn't.
Why are they weird?
Huh?
Why are they weird?
It's weird because they went to a different agency asking for a new website, and that agency said to us, I don't think they've got enough budget to work with us. Do you want this? And at that point we were still doing or considering doing website work and stuff, but then we were like, oh, you don't need a new website, you need this other stuff, because when we looked at it, we were like, that doesn't make sense for them to invest in that and not in other types of marketing and stuff. And it's gone from there, them not even coming to us, to 5 years down the line.
They've literally spent over £200,000 with us.
Yeah. Really good.
Why do you think, before we get into sharing some tips and advice on how people can attract and retain long-term clients, why don't people talk about clients that are renewing? Why do we focus on the new ones and not actually talk about? Because it's a bit of a weird moment for us. Like, why aren't we using this as a marketing tool? We literally never have over the past 7 years.
I don't know. Why do you think they don't talk about it?
I don't know. I think that I think probably the new clients coming on board seems more exciting because it's something new. Whereas I guess you kind of think in your mind, like, no one's going to care about us saying, oh, a current client that's been with us for 4 years is renewed for a 5th year. But when you think of it strategically, like, we're trying to build trust with our potential customers in the world, demonstrating that a client keeps coming back because of us doing a good job for them has a good amount of kind of social proof and credibility that comes with it.
I'm just thinking, like, imagine if, say, you're like PG Tips tea bags or whatever, and you know that your customers come back to the supermarket every single month and buy your tea again. Surely, like, it'd be a nice, like, tagline. I've got to think of it worded well. PG Tips. Our customers come back every month because the tea's so good.
Yeah.
That sounded brilliant, didn't it? No, do you know what I mean? Like, hearing from a business that your product's so good that people just come back constantly, it's like it's an opportunity, isn't it? Why don't more of us use it?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know if other anchors, if your anchors listening, if you actually talk about this a lot or mention customers renewing, because we don't.
No, we don't. Well, why do you think it's so important that we start this conversation, Dan, and we start talking about retaining and returning customers rather than just when, like, we get other successes within our businesses?
I think the simple thing is it's evidence that we're good at what we do. And from a marketing perspective, we're constantly trying to demonstrate that we deliver on our promises. Like, as a marketing agency, we're ultimately selling a promise. We're not selling anything tangible like a product. We're selling, like, we can help you sell more of your product. Ultimately, like, that's the main goal. Sell more of your products or services. So it's a bit of a promise. So any evidence we have to demonstrate we do a good job with that, and we have done it with other clients, is important for us to communicate that. And I think not just us, like you listening.
Yeah.
Even if you sell products though, like this is why things like reviews and testimonials and things are so important, and case studies, to demonstrate that your product does what it says on the tin, in a similar way to, like, we're trying to demonstrate that our service does what it says on the tin.
Yeah. And you've got this stuff there ready to use in your marketing to get more customers. So you've already got those reviews, or you've already got those returning customers you can talk about. And yeah, I guess this is the wake up call.
Yeah.
Think about that. How can you use that? Like, when I see, I was targeted with I believe it was a tennis grip, but I used it for my squash racket. And I think the ad that converted me in the end, it was just an image ad of a customer review. And I was like, and they were saying, like, this is so good. This is the best. And I was just like, yeah, all right, I believe that. Bought them.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways you can use them, but the opportunity's there, isn't it?
And even, like, if you're listening to this or watching this and thinking, no one cares about us talking about clients that have renewed and happy customers, no one's going to care about that. They genuinely do if they've got an intent to purchase your products and services. This is why the kind of buyer journey and the marketing funnel is so important. You're correct. Like, people who aren't interested or don't have a need for what you offer won't be interested in hearing about happy customers. But the ones that are further along that customer journey, who have a problem that you can solve, who are considering choosing your solution over your competitors, they will be interested in hearing sort of about happy customers and evidence that other people are.
That makes sense. So not used as like an awareness type thing. The first time someone hears of you is someone saying, I'm a happy customer.
Yeah,
it's more like they already know of your brand or business, and then a way to really convince them. So if they're in that consideration stage of the marketing funnel that we've spoken about before, where they're like, oh yeah, I know about that business. There could be someone we could buy from in the future. And then you hit them with loads of customers that are like, this is absolutely brilliant. I'm like you, and they've done loads of good stuff for me.
this is what can really differentiate you from your competitors, is using evidence-based marketing. Any opportunity you have to provide data, like for us, whenever we're producing ads for our own company or marketing content, we always think like, what data can we share that proves that we deliver results for our customers? That's the real types of messaging that has impact. And we've done this on client projects before, like practicing what we preach. We are currently working with a B2B client, and they've just converted £1 million contract from the campaign that we're running and the lead that we generated for them. And that campaign worked so well because in all of the content, we provided data and evidence to show why their product is great and what it does and what it achieves.
That was like Inception then, because you were talking about that campaign that showed data to convince people whilst talking about the data of £1 million contract that we got for them in that, which is data we're using to communicate to people for our own business.
I mean, to be very meta with you, so this £1 million contract happened very recently.
How much was that then?
£1 million contract.
Oh, okay, just check.
Just from a lead that Knowlton generated for our LinkedIn campaign.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
But no, I'm not saying it. I am saying it because of that. But to give you a bit more detail, on my to-do list currently is thinking like, how can we as a marketing agency make the most out of that evidence that we've got from a B2B perspective? Because we've got tons of B2C campaigns that we've done and B2B, but this is the really impressive one that I'm even thinking now, like, what should we be doing? What content could we create to provide that evidence to let more B2B businesses know we can?
It's communicating that simple evidence. So simply communicating, we've won £1 million contract for a client. Simply communicating, this customer has renewed 5 years in a row because we're so good at what we do. And it's quite simple messaging. Like, you're just communicating one thing, but they're very powerful things, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you're communicating someone's come back 5 years in a row, like the standard of work must have been so high and consistent for a 5-year period, not for like a couple of months or weeks, or for 5 years for them to come back. That one sentence communicates so much.
And I'd even like, just thinking aloud here, whilst listening to this, I'd schedule some time to note down any evidence or data you have that demonstrates you deliver on your promises. Like, actually sit down and think, right, what examples of happy customers do we have that we, evidence and data that shows that we deliver on our promises, shows that people like our products and services, and actually start to note that down, because that can be the starting point to then incorporating that into your marketing, so that you're not like every other business in your industry that says, we do good stuff, because everyone says that, or our products are the best in the world. It's like, show us the evidence. And if you have that evidence, that's a good little action that you can take.
Yeah.
So do that.
Definitely. Dan, you are noticing our notes. This probably isn't a professional way to go into the next point, but there was some kind of study.
Yes.
So I thought, Dan's gone to the effort to actually look into real facts.
Yes.
So what real stuff from intelligent people have we got to communicate rather than from us?
So after we did our podcast episode, I think it was 112, where we looked at psychology studies and lessons that you can learn. Yeah. I've started to think more like whenever I sort of have anecdotal thoughts on why things work, I always think like, now I'm going to find a study that backs that up, because then it's actually more interesting than just us saying, we think this is good. Yeah. So this whole like evidence-based marketing and showing and talking about customers that are renewing, there's studies that literally show that this can work. So have you ever heard, Lloyd, of informational social influence?
No. I've heard of all those words separately.
So I had neither. So it's basically where a person conforms because they have a desire to be right, and they look to others who they believe may have more information.
They have a desire to be right. Okay.
So if you and here's the prime example of this in action. You're a head of marketing for a brand, and no, just play out with me, Lloyd.
Okay, yeah.
You're a head of marketing for a brand that sells a new product.
Yeah.
Okay, a new gardening product. You're looking for an innovative new way to market your gardening product, something you've never tried before, but it's kind of unknown territory.
Yeah.
So what you will do is look to other people who have used an innovative approach that you can think, oh, they did that innovative approach, so I'm going to do that because it's less risky, because I can see that someone else has done it.
Someone else done it. It's more likely to be the right thing to do. Other people are doing this, and it seems to be working.
And the actual study, just to give you the detail of the study, so there's a guy called Alex Lasky, who works for a company called OPower. He ran an experiment to see which type of messaging would be best to encourage others to save energy. Okay, and there's 4 things that he did. The first one is, in the messaging, he said, you can save $54 this month. The second one was, you can save the planet. The third one was, you can be a good citizen. And the fourth one was, your neighbours are doing better than you. Which one of those do you think worked best in terms of messaging to encourage people to save energy, Lloyd?
Do you well, I'm assuming, is it that your neighbours are doing better than you because you're thinking like, oh, they're doing it right and I'm not, so I want to do that.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. So the first 3 that I mentioned led to no increase in energy saving. The fourth one, about your neighbours, it worked, and it led to a 2% reduction in household energy usage.
Interesting.
Because you think,
thinking others like, oh, they're doing it right, I should try and be more like that.
Yeah.
Rather than just doing it because you want to be, or because you think it's the right thing, or okay.
So again, this is backing up the reason for why you should be talking about your customers either renewing with you, or when new customers come on board, you should be telling the world about that. Look at all these people that trust us. Look, and we utilize this whenever we've got a new customer. We actively say, oh, great, we got a new customer. And it's like building that credibility and trust.
So that was the study from an intelligent person. But now looking for tips and advice for an unintelligent person. What sort of advice do you have for people if they want to attract and retain long-term clients?
Okay. So from my experience, first of all, you need to think about what makes up a long-term client that you are looking to attract. What do those clients look like? This is the kind of first stage. So you're trying to attract more longer-term clients that keep renewing with you. What do they look like? Because there's lots of different types of customers you've attracted. Over the years, we've worked with a whole range of different size organizations in different industries, with different kind of decision makers from the companies.
So as in a long-term client for if I'm thinking about us, it could be like, we want to be working with businesses that have between 30 and 500 employees and have a marketing budget of at least £20,000 a month.
Yes.
Is that the sort of thing you mean?
That, but I think you can go into a lot more detail.
Right.
So things like, just thinking about us, we want our values to align.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, that our values align. We also want to be confident that there's a demand for what they sell.
Yes.
Like we've been approached in the past to promote products and things that we looked at and thought, I would never buy that, and no one will ever buy that. And it's like, do we as a marketing agency want to work with a company that has no evidence that anyone...
Good point. Even if they've got the marketing budget to pay us, we don't want to work with them because that thing's not going to sell and people don't want it.
Yeah, and us, we're starting out 7 years ago, whatever, we would have probably worked with anyone, no matter how rubbish the product.
Yeah, literally anyone. Yeah.
But through experience, we want to keep our integrity, and we want to keep developing really great case studies to show that, look how successful we can be. Well, and we don't want to do that with.
Right. Yeah. So picturing what those long-term clients would.
Yeah. So step 1 is mapping out, what does that ideal customer look like?
Yeah.
Okay. And the second stage is really trying to figure out, what do the decision makers in those companies actually care about? And this is a really, really important one, because you really need to focus your messaging on the types of things that they actually care about. So to give you an example, to give you 2 examples actually, there's one client we've worked with for a long time, a really, really credible brand that you've probably heard of, and we actually spoke to the decision maker in that company and asked them, why did you choose to work with us, and why do you keep continuing to work with us? Because that information is really useful to us, because then that can shape our messaging to attract new customers.
Yes.
And one of the main things they said was, which wasn't necessarily what I thought they would say, focus on first. I thought they'd say, because you get great results. It wasn't that. It was like, because your team are really easy to work with. Which sounds strange, but I guess their motivations in their job are probably that they don't want to be stressed. They want the people they're working with to do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I guess we do that. So that's like a massive motivation for them to work.
I do think that a lot of it often gets missed, and something I'm going to talk about a bit later in this episode is what the actual people want. Not the business goals, but the people in those positions that you need to get in front of the decision makers, what they actually want. Like you said,
they're different.
This thing of, oh, it's easy to work with your team. That person's looking for like a stress-free job, and to be able to do what he needs to do so his bosses aren't on his back. Or her. Yeah. Her bosses aren't on her back. Or his back. Or her back.
Bosses aren't on her back.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Kind of like, oh, why haven't you done this? Because like, oh, I've worked with these guys. They're really good at what they do. They're easy to work with, and I don't have that pressure.
Another example for a very different motivation from another client. We work with another client that gets really excited by being involved in very creative video concepts that are to do with their interests.
Yeah.
Which is completely different.
Yeah.
So us pitching to them is a very different, the things that we're pointing out. And
I think I'm going to go into my examples now.
Yeah, go on
I
then,
think it's a good time. So I think this is really important, this point of knowing the people, the decision makers that you need to get in front of. What do they actually want and what drives them? And an example for our business that I've got from the agency Nomics book by Spencer Gallagher and Peter Hoole. We're in that book actually, by the way.
Oh, we are,
yeah. I really find interesting and found useful. So they split like marketing agency clients into 4 types of people. So one of them is a fame client. So they want you to help them achieve success in their role and help them prove to their boss that they're doing really good stuff. And they really, something that would be good to do for a fame client for us is like a project that they've got us to work on, put it in for an award. So like, they go to their boss and go, oh, we've won this award because the work's so good that I've been leading. So they want their like fame within their organization. I'm doing great at my job. And so you'd want to kind of tell their boss, wow, Susan is brilliant, isn't she? And she'd love that.
It's really interesting.
So that's one thing. Just internally within their organization, they just want recognition and that kind of thing. And that's what they want from you. The second type is a schmooze client. So this is completely based on the working relationship, not actually like results that you're helping the business to get or anything, but they kind of want to be wined and dined and want you to make a fuss over them. So they're kind of like, I'm in charge of the budget. I've chosen to spend it with you.
Spend money on me.
Take me to Wimbledon.
Yeah. We've definitely met a few of those clients.
And it is that kind of like, I'll renew a contract with you. And they wouldn't say this, and I know I'm going to get taken out for dinner. And like, you could do meetings in exciting places. And I'm going to Wembley to watch England. Got a couple of tickets. Do you want to come? Like that's what they're looking for. So that's one type. There's 4 of these. So third is the perfectionist client. So this one does not care about that schmoozing and social stuff in any way, but they basically just want you to make their life easier by getting things right. They want no fuss. They just never want you to make a mistake. They want to know they can rely on you to get the work done, and they basically don't want any more. So, you want to avoid typos. You want to make sure you're on budget, you're on time every time you work with them, but they're not looking for anything else. And the fourth one is what they call a bully client. So they basically just want to tell you what to do and control you. Bit of a weird one. But they'll always be pushing you to achieve more than is actually possible. And
I guess you'd want to avoid that client.
Well, yeah, it depends. They'll want you to work weekends and long hours to get the best job done. But they are the clients that probably there's the opportunity to earn the most money from. They want you to do more work and stuff so you can charge them a premium. So for marketing agencies like us and service-based businesses, there's probably similar categories to those 4. But I think this is something to think about for any type of business. So you need to think about with your business, what are the different types? If you're thinking, this is what our customers care about, and it's one thing, you're wrong.
You're wrong, yeah.
You've got different type of customers that value different things, and each could offer an opportunity. So if you're selling T-shirts, some types of customer will just care about it being delivered on time and the quality. Like they just want you to get it done what it says on the tin. Like make sure it's here tomorrow when you've said it is, and make sure the quality's there. Others will care more about the free stickers that you've put in the bag with it. Like they won't care if it's on time, but they really like your brand, and you've chucked in 5 stickers with the brand, and they'll be ecstatic about that, and they won't even notice it's 5 days late. And other people may care about the discount that you've given them. They don't actually care about the quality or any of that other stuff, but they feel like they've saved 50%, and that's the most important thing to them ever. Why are you smiling?
Only because you mentioned stickers, and I just remembered that you used to be scared of stickers when we were kids. Sorry.
Used to, yeah. Yes, I used to be scared of stickers. No weird phobias here anymore.
So I didn't listen to anything you said after you mentioned stickers. I was just thinking of you being scared of stickers.
Great.
So yeah, carry on the t-shirt example.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've finished, but okay.
So the 4. So just to go over this again. So the 4 thingies are fame.
Well, Dan, this is for agencies and it's fame, schmooze clients, perfectionist clients, and bully clients. But I think for every business, it's going to be there's different types of people. So I think about your different types of customers. Like saying some will be really focused on price and saving money. Some, like, if you're selling products, it's not going to be that relationship where you're taking your customers out to go and do this thing.
Because I'm just thinking of the listeners now, what they'll be thinking. I was kind of thinking, okay, right, so it's important to understand the types of clients so that you can appeal to the different clients. How do you figure out the types of clients? Is it a case of like actually sitting down and just brainstorming it and thinking like, what types of buckets? These clients tend to like the free stickers we give. These clients like us to have great customer service.
The clients that we have that have the most success in their marketing are really aware of these different types. So, for example, the Whole Foods company we've worked with, they have lots of different types of customers, and they know that discounting and sales appeals to this group of people, and they always buy more. They know we've got this group of people that buy loads around Christmas because they're going to host loads of people and want to cook loads of great, healthy, nutritious food. They know some people just care about healthy foods they can snack on. So like they've got these different segments and these different types of customers have different things that drive them to buy. And then they can segment and go, okay, well, let's run a campaign to this type of people on snacking, because we know they're not going to bother cooking and get ingredients, but they're going to buy loads of this stuff.
And I think that kind of leads on to my next point, which was once you've done what Lloyd says and you know the buckets of clients and what they care about, then it's a case of then like updating your comms strategy or your marketing strategy to ensure wherever you communicate with these people, online or offline, use that messaging that you know they give a shit about, basically, to attract them and convince them. Like the people that like discounts, make sure you're heavily pushing, like, we do loads of discounts. Or the people that like customer service say, our customer service is like no other because we've got blah, 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 Yeah.
You might have an ad that's like 20% off sale of our great quality products. And for one audience, the 20% sale needs to be massive on the ad. And the other audience, it needs to be great quality products that needs to be massive. Small changes that, understanding those different types of customers and what they really value is how you will get them back and retain them and have returning customers.
Yeah. Can I just share some to try and provide more value? Give some specific examples of how we do this.
Yeah.
Through our marketing strategy. So one thing we do is we've got a behind the scenes series called Inside Knowlton, where we post the full videos on our YouTube channel and shorter clips on other channels, where we literally show our team working with these big brands and show a behind the scenes look at what it's like to work with us, so that our ideal customers who we want to attract can see us working with other ideal customers that look like them to attract them. So behind the scenes content, I think, is a really key thing that we do to do that. Another example is, and this comes back to that psychology study I mentioned, is showing evidence of us achieving results for people that look like them. Because then it's like, oh, we're an e-commerce brand that sells these consumer products. They've just worked with a company that's an e-commerce brand that sells consumer products and generated millions of pounds of track revenue. I want to be like that marketing manager because they must.
When we ask people, like, why did you come to us? hear that as a very common thing. Oh, it's when you posted a video about this type of business, and they're obviously that type of business. They see a really specific example of someone like them, and that's what makes them, after like potentially weeks and months of thinking, oh, I could work with these guys.
Yeah.
That's what makes them take the leap and actually get in touch and move the conversation forward.
Yeah. And I think in general, it's anything to show that we deliver on our promises. Anything that shows what it's like to work with other customers that look like them, like the behind the scenes content, showing results, case studies on our website, anything evidence based. And this goes back to that tip I said earlier. As an action, after this, listen to this podcast, spend just 10 minutes writing down any data or evidence you have that shows that you deliver on your promises.
Yeah.
And then utilize that in your marketing comms.
Do you know what? In summary of how to retain these customers, to wrap this up, unless you have anything else then, I think really simply, obviously there's a lot more details, but to retain customers and to have returning customers, you need to do good work. That's the first thing. You can't have returning customers if your product or service is rubbish.
Or sell great products that do what they say they do.
Yeah. So you have to be doing good stuff. But then the second point of 3 is understand what your customers care about once you're doing that good stuff. And then the third point is just making sure you communicate that stuff they care about to them.
It's so simple, but so effective.
Because you could get the first one right of doing great stuff. And I think we've had this in the early stage of our business, doing great work, but not communicating well enough the things that they actually care about. And then they've left. And you kind of thought,
we did great.
We've got them amazing. Like, we've had projects in the past, much more like in the early stage of the business, where we absolutely smashed that for them. Like, we made them loads of money and stuff. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't they want to continue to work with us? And then later down the line, you reflect on it and it's like, oh, they're a schmooze client. It's like, if another agency
took them out for dinner, but got shit to results.
Oh yeah, come to a Lady Gaga concert and let's discuss working together. They'd choose working with them.
Even if the results are worse.
Oh, now understanding what's important to them. We needed to communicate those results, but also be doing those things and communicating. Oh yeah, we got Formula 1 tickets next month as well. If you want to. Yeah. So I think it's doing good stuff, working out what your customers care about, communicating that stuff. Done. That could have been a short podcast.
Yeah, that could have been.
That's all we need.
Good. I hope that's been useful, anchors. Like always, we always try and think of podcast episodes of things actually happening in our business that are useful to us. So hopefully you found this useful. If you have, we'd love it if you told other people about this podcast or shared it on social media. That would really be helpful.
Yeah, I'd like that too.
Cool. So we'll see you in your ears next week.
Boom.